Namo manjo shiri Lama so shiri Nama o Dama shiri so ha O Namo manjo shiri Nama so shiri Nama o shiri so ha O Namo manjo shiri Nama so shiri Nama o Dama shiri so ha Jogi Jona Lai Changchu Bandu Dandi Kapsu Chi Dagi Junye Gibe Sonangi Drola Benje Sangi Druba Shu Jogi Jona Lai Changchu Bandu Dandi Kapsu Chi Dagi Junye Gibe Sonangi Drola Benje Sangi Druba Shu Jogi Jona Lai Changchu Bandu Dandi Kapsu Chi Dagi Junye Gibe Sonangi Drola Benje Sangi Druba Shu Yogi Jushin Medo Zhang Mira Lingxi Nide Genpa Di Sangi Shindo Mide Ua Ito Gu Nanda Shina Druba Shu Hitan Guru Rana Mendala Kandiya Taya Mi
Tomo Duwajime Sijira Chitabi Sendi Manashi Kadincho Fada Mama Jiba Kijami Mashiba Toji Muchaba Mani Dewan Deja Lando Polojibu in Bahi Noan Dega Kijami Tuji Mani Dechi Pisu Sada Dina Chabu Demba Chuchi Demba Tabisha Tibashini Bala Manashi
All sentient beings have been our mothers. And all sentient beings have been our mothers for numberless times. And they are as kind as our mothers of this life. Even though all kind mothers sentient beings want happiness and do not want a small suffering, however, due to engage wrongly in objects of abandonment and adoption, they experience only suffering. In our minds, sincerely generate loving kindness towards all kind mother sentient beings, thinking, how nice if all kind mother sentient beings had excellent happiness. May all kind mother sentient beings have excellent happiness. I will cause all kind mother sentient beings to have excellent happiness. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
The Duwajina is Jeta Tang, goes into the shower Bubala, Mutibicho, Tada Tana Chemo, Tawa Chichi, Tawa Davisha, Tedeshin, Lama, and Shida.
Next, we generate compassion to all suffering mother sentient beings, thinking, how nice if 3 doors of all suffering mother sentient beings were free from all discordant class for accomplishing virtue. May 3 doors of all suffering mother sentient beings be free from all discordant class for accomplishing virtue. I will cause 3 doors of all suffering mother sentient beings to be free from all discordant class for accomplishing virtue. Lama, please bless me to be able to do so.
Condition one and a quarter and as we don't doing this, and Yerala project that neighbors in Yataba, so she combined with Nibali Sules and Yataba to the Sanjay machine. Listen to transition the Sanjay for change the top of shower and the changes.
Next, we generate Bodhichitta. First, we ask ourselves, who should take the responsibility to free all mother sentient beings from the sufferings of samsara and of lower realms? I should take the responsibility to free all mother sentient beings from the sufferings of samsara and of lower realms. However, I do not have the ability to do so now. Who have the abilities? Only those who have achieved the perfect, complete enlightened Buddhas have the ability to do so. Therefore, for the sake of all mother sentient beings, by all means, I will become Buddha. Next, we generate all-encompassing yoga mind. The aspiring conventional bodhichitta that thinks for the sake of all sentient beings, I will become Buddha. These transform into a white moon disk at one's heart. And the ultimate bodhichitta, that is one's mind becoming in one taste with emptiness. There is all phenomena lacking of inherent existence. These transform into a white 5-point vajra on top of the moon disk. Next, we meditate on emptiness, that I exist, neither intrinsically one with, nor intrinsically different from the aggregates. Thus, I do not exist intrinsically. Next is to conjoin these sessions with the practice of 6 perfections. And the first one is the practice of generosity. And generosity is mainly about the mind of giving. So during these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Lamrim teachings, I will give whatever roots of virtue that I accumulate, I will give it for the sake of all sentient beings. So if we generate these minds of giving, then we will be able to conjoin this session with the practice of generosity. Next is the practice of morality. And morality is the mind of abandoning. So during these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Lamrim teachings, I will abandon my physical and verbal negativities so that they do not manifest. Next is the practice of patience. And patience is an undisturbed mind. So during these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Lamrim teachings, whatever physical or mental hardships that occur, I will willingly accept it. Next is the practice of joyous effort. Joyous effort is a mind enthusiastic for it's a mind enthusiastic in the virtue. So during these 2 hours, of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Lamrim teachings, I will take delight in this virtue for the sake of all sentient beings and in accumulating virtue. Next is the practice of meditative concentration. And meditative concentration is mind single-pointedly focusing on any of the virtuous objects. So during these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Lamrim teachings, I will focus on today's lesson and do not get distracted by any other matters, such as my family or my work issues. In case if I get distracted, I will bring back my mind to today's lesson. Next is the practice of wisdom. In general, wisdom is an awareness that thoroughly distinguishes the phenomena, the imputed things. So during these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on Lamrim teachings, I will properly understand the words, the meaning of the words, the benefits, and the objects of adoptions and abandonment. Setting motivation. For the sake of all sentient beings, I will become Buddha. For this purpose, I will receive the commentary on Lamrim teachings and practice accordingly in order to benefit sentient beings.
Oh yeah, thank you. That didn't come on the sound of the Sumba Dagi Jisugum reminds take at the Rua. Dagi Jisugum reminds case of the Monsignor Sajini Dua. Did it dingo and cousin Dingo Shire.
Oh, you know,
Dirwa. You get to kill.
Sumbala need
Oh, somebody needs
a consumer in and not a case of
yes, out. Yes, out the Monsignor case of the other Duma as a good much choose with Layamura.
Yeah. So I will start with the stages of meditation on how to exchange oneself and others. And this has 2 points: removing obstacles and the actual way to meditate. So last week I did cover a little bit about removing obstacles. So today I will explain further.
Dagi Jebada, Dagi the Shaji, Ye Dada Shah, somebody.
Yeah, so removing obstacles, then what is called exchanging oneself and others, and making oneself into the other and making others into oneself. So is to understand the meaning of these terms.
That indeed, Dagi the Shaji, Ye Dada Shah, that Shina now, 이 미단나 라파선나요 놈들로 정하다 말이에요. 데려와 된다시나 들어와 다 희나 간다 희나 나와는 수도인 소다 다 힘되게 미다 나와다 라바다 강바 가리나니 오는 데들로 정하다 말이에요. 와
So the meaning of exchanging oneself and others and making oneself into the other and making others into oneself. So it doesn't mean that the other person is me, his eyes, his body, his hands, his legs, and so forth are my eyes, my body, my hands, and my legs. It doesn't mean that way.
니기 라바다 니 강바다 거 신기 레스 디에 지마 말이야. 니기 수포디 신기 레스 디에 지마 말이야.
Similarly, it doesn't mean my eyes, my hands, my legs, and so forth are others' eyes, others' hands, others' legs.
다디 가르레스나 다 랑진지다 랑피 슈비치가 지고라 랑진지다 시 야와도이 로데니 다 고사지바레스 와 아무데 랑페 자첸부 제야데 대당 시파 남이 당지 야와도이 로데니 고사지니 다 랑제반지바데 파 돈이 다 시제반지 시제반지 이 랑제반 제반지바 파 야와도 데니 로니가 다 고사지바레스
So rather, it is to exchange the perspective of the mind that cherishes oneself and the mind that neglects others. So to generate the mind that cherishes others like we cherish ourselves and neglect others like we neglect others. So, so the meaning of these terms, exchanging oneself with others and making oneself into the other and making others into oneself. So the meaning is to exchange the perspective of the mind. Because we cherish ourselves and we neglect others, right? So now we change the perspective of the mind to cherish others and neglect oneself.
somebody the kind of salon contact to do salon contact but yeah that runs za chibu chiwa de pa to ni hinda za chibu chi ro hinda za chibu chi ron ta pa he za chiwa ya zi that runs za chibu de pa to jiro de na lo
yeah so we used to and we cherish ourselves, right? So now you change the perspective of the mind to cherish others. So you cherish others just like how you cherish yourself in the past, and you neglect oneself just like how you neglected others in the past. So this is what it means by exchanging this perspective of the mind.
That just is that dog in the water, he dunga jiva somebaya, that dog changes the diet. That be around change be hacha chimpanzee that it's all in dream doing no sha that is much of a dog change the diet is what Ran chimpanzee, but the dog chimpanzee, but the ran chimpanzee, dog changes the chibarwa. Ran chimpanzee, but they need no shas that they know to shas, so no dream of music. Ran chimpanzee, but no dream of much thing. Judge must be your domain to the Resha. Didn't say the names in the chambers.
And when we perceive self-cherishing as our enemy, we stop making our own happiness our priority. So we must see self-cherishing as our enemy, as the main enemy. So you realize, as we acknowledge our faults of this self-cherishing, and then now we see this self-cherishing as our main enemy.
지금 문도사 디 진짜 디스탐비토니 데다기 데와 두팔라 하장 베지 슈첨보지야 다페 슈보지페 소자야 데 체도페 다 리마 유송거로 토니 간다 앞에 소제벌레 당니 리치야게 내가 요로와 어다디 디체버 파파고 그래서 다 간다 랑 지복이 된다 나 지복이 된다 디 그래서 판고지 디 이거보다 더 두두두야 사디
and then we stop making our own happiness our priority. So we realize that this self-cherishing is our enemy, and it is a fault and is inappropriate to have this self-cherishing attitude. So therefore, it's very important to stop making our own happiness our priority.
Dunga sopa sewalam bezejeba. Yiji dunga doa, yiji dunga sawalam bezejeba. Dewa doala bezejeba. Odigure esebo, yiji dunga pa sewalam bebache. Yiji dewa juala, anda dewa juala, yichi bezejeba. Odichi esebo ta, yiji yindi ta sayjela.
So having perceived self-cherishing as our enemy, then we stopped making our own happiness our priority, or we stopped putting effort in accomplishing our own happiness or regarding our own happiness as priority. So when we perceive cherishing others as an excellent quality and stop neglecting the sufferings of others, we make it our priority to eliminate it. So again, having perceived cherishing others as an excellent quality, or having perceived the good qualities of cherishing others, then you stopped neglecting the suffering of others and making it our priority to eliminate it. So we put effort in eliminate the sufferings of others, so we do not neglect it, and instead we put effort in eliminating the sufferings of others, and we put effort in accomplishing the happiness of others.
Tando dina rangi dewala matawa hinji dunga sayi tendo hambezo jebure esika tenda do dina tere doa do na aswa ta rangi dewala dewa chembala matawa hinji pa dunga sayi di cheda pa bezo jebure esika direja.
So the meaning of this in brief, we will act for the sake of eliminating the sufferings of others without concern for our own happiness. So this is the summary of the meaning here.
Pe shabaina, pe chunju shabaina, pe mi mambu tindi chichila pe susu desa kuja yabu jirabaina. Doa susu desa kuja yabu jirabaina. Ta susu tiga dena susu dewa di yorwa. Ta mege amana wachi pe mege desa me pista jubochi wa pe kange cheduna. O ta kora susu kuja da kapa dejini. Ti susu ma san ma dewa ina. Ti dagu dewa chembe de pa kani. Ti hina pa mune chede pa. Bezeche wadrwa. Tanga sura abara la samo tan dogwa. No, pena dagi dewala matawa asi ti tonda Lamrim program sipro ma samo tan dogwa da. Dagi dewala matawa heji tunga sai tan dogose. Jubasirwa. Ta susu kucha ga dena susu chibo yorwa. Rele yorwa. Ta dela matawa he meje amachira pe. Ta kucha mandu meje sa demduna Quran diga yasha. O de susu ma dewa ina. O te go ne tane ta chuju susu dewala matawa
So in relation to this sentence, this summary will act for the sake of eliminating the sufferings of others without concern for our own happiness. So something that we can, I'll say an easy example, and an easy example that we can relate. Like the example is like in a place very crowded, and I bring a chair, or I found a seat. So if I take the seat, then I'll feel comfortable, right? And I feel happy. So however, then you realize that there is one mother, or old lady, and she didn't find a seat, and in case if she has to sit on the floor, then she has the knee problem. So if she sits on the floor, then she'll have knee problem, knee pain, etc. So you give your seat to the old lady, or give your seat to the mother, to Amala, or to the old mother. Then this is a very how say easy or our daily examples that we can relate in relation to this sentence. We will act for the sake of eliminating the sufferings of others without concern for our own happiness. So starting with this small daily practice.
That is the time of cutting was that be dying on the look at John like Kenny, yes, that gave me my nation of the way that I'm going to cut him out in the thing also. Only one show that I'm going to look at John like Kenny or is that kid on board that kid on board the round that he did to be. Eh, the data Yenny pay and was it so research to Banzi. The Della thing they do then lie him but do us. So they were the knees in the two brother. Do not Nali would pass here. The Chadang research about that Chadang research or deliver yes. Amope, Kate the knee, Amo came the Kate Amode, Randa Yip, Nobo the Sebo Nashi, then Nobo the Sebo in money. Nobo Sebo Ranmato, and Nobo the mission that you are by now, from Nobo is Laura Mato, or Sebo is our in Loma. Or Sebo the Missuna to meet them by now. Me, Jim and Joseph, Sebo Remado, nobody's in Sawan in Loma. Or the Lipe, Sheba research all over. The data yet, then she didn't need it, did cook listen, and did research by now, then Nala, need race and Nala Shecha, cook listen, the Polatown, delivery as well. What the research by now, take on that, then to you, Marise, and the Kate on what did the reason, my chair is so good. I'm also dying on Jiggy. The Jamala, you give no the Jamala, that is risk was in Naji, resource Chiva, got to years ago.
So when training in this mind, there are two obstacles. So after I talk about this, then I will talk about the practice of Tonglen. So when training in this mind, the exchanging oneself with others, then there are two obstacles. The first one is we separate the two, oneself and others, the basis of one's own and others' happiness and suffering into distinct natures. So we separate two things. So oneself and others. So oneself is the basis of one's own happiness and suffering, and others as the basis of others' suffering. Others as the basis for others' happiness and suffering. So we separate these two into distinct natures, like blue and yellow. So, and hold them to be established in this way. Then with respect to the happiness and suffering based on them, we think since it is mine, it should be accomplished or removed. So since it is my happiness, I shall accomplish it. And since it is my suffering, I shall remove it. So since it is someone else's, then it is to be neglected. So others' suffering or other happiness, then is to be neglected. So therefore, the antidote to this is to think that myself and others are not distinct entities by nature. So regarding this blue and yellow, so this blue and yellow, it is blue, regardless of what you compare, regardless what color you compare to. So if you compare this blue color to red color, this blue color is still a blue color, right? It will not change to some other colors because of you comparing it to the red color. So similarly, yellow, if you perceive it as yellow, then it is yellow to the persons, and it will not change in relation to the colors that you compare to. So because of we holding holding oneself and others into distinct natures like blue and yellow, then we hold them into we hold them to be established in that way. Then we have this thought: mine is mine, yours is yours. Mine, then I will accomplish and remove, and yours, your happiness or your suffering, then it's none of my business, is to be neglected. So this has to be eliminated. So the antidote to this is to think that myself and others are not distinct entities by nature.
Oh, that is what the was in the research in it. The sound Pamayina. Take on that, tell a thing, Karin, you go your yes, or the motion I did sound on a research by the Telatin Karin, you raise the dog develop the dinner, Negi, and then Kanda, and Nai, they do good, they want to do good. Then Mala never think is doing it. The person who say, then there's no future but leverage. Or future but leverage. Then change is. Then the change that you shall not digress. Who may Shendajically tell Uduna, coming to Uduna, who is sharing Niki Chetan Mare, Kora coming to and chase it, not the usual channel. Roa. Oh, the word the channel is it. The ye awatan. That the ye reach Chetana, Chetsa Shingela, the Lotipe, Duja Leore, the Duja Leode, the Shila, and Nami, Kanada, the channel. That the reach begins in the king, pick on the day.
So, independence on this reason of distinguish oneself and others. So, in dependence on this reason of distinguish oneself from others, then just like the blue and the yellow color, then we will have this thought. If what follows is, then we will have this thought thinking that this is my suffering, my happiness. I will put effort in accomplishing the happiness. I will put effort in eliminating my own happiness, my own sufferings. So then, and what follows is when others they caught in troubles or when they face difficulties, then because of you having this thought, thinking that me is me, you is you, then when they face problems, then you think that they are none of my business. They face problems, they are business, none of my business. Then because of this, then you neglect others. So these thoughts follow the reason that if you distinguish oneself from others, then you will do this. You will have this thought. So then this is something to be eliminated.
The dog they were do for the Tunga Seven and the Shuchimoji, they hinge pay Dungare, Rehina, the hinge Dungare, Niki Kuba Modus in part 1. The hinge they were is, Niki to Polar Pacheco Modus, changing Maris, they put best on it. They round the hippie, research that condition, and then dribble the level. What the level that the name was on the machine.
So if we distinguish oneself from others, what follows would be my own happiness, my suffering, I will put effort in accomplishing and removing it. And others, then their own business, none of my business. So this will follow if we distinguish oneself from others. So we are not going to help others since it's none of my business.
That the name of the Daniel Dada Yin only so reads the chepa this chepa at me, chepa Nashi, you yes, what the business at you mares, one is chepa your mares. Maybe page out the Prince Denebe, Dala Hinge Lodgela, Hina Dada Lodgela, Prince Deja Digi, the Dada Hin is the Chinese Lodgeva Mado, Debe. There's reason today, your mares, what I can do. Reaching to Yama, Prince Dini Dada, Prince Dini she is the little logic is what the Jina and the morning to the Chiba, Yoma maybe visited Haritsuna, she is Haritsuru, or Prince Dini the dollar in the lodger, Hina Dog Lodger already, the image of Haritsuna, she is. You part of the Ritzel Orata, you part of the number digital and the pay.
So this obstacle has to be eliminated, and it can be eliminated by these antidotes, which is to think that myself and others are not distinct entities by nature. So in fact, we are not distinct entities by nature because we are related. So independence on others, I. Independence on I, others. So this is how we are related. So we are not distinct entities by nature, and as a rather we are related. How are we related? We are related in terms of independence on others. The idea of I arises, and independence on I, then the idea of others arises. So just like the concept of the mountain over here and the mountain over there.
다 지말 장치지나 다 장치처럼 발을서 가지고 다 빼샤다는 거와 지말 장치지 때 장치도 파쇼시 쇼리지요와 르니요와 어디 답변아 발은데 와 발을라 인내네 발을 놓지 다 소소 추스를 들리야디 간다 다 샤다 능력을 지가 빼셔이나 다 소소 추들이 장치지 니는 샤고 쇼라 대와이나 다 샤고 쇼라 되디 추스르셔 자사로 수르를 좋아 수르를 차 예 방문에 누구라고 차는 거와 너는 발을 놓지 예스와 예 발을 놓지 그래도 이나 되자마자 그 서로들 랑이 대가로 그대서 그러면 랑이 대가로 차요. 랑이 대가로 잡아야 꼭 가디나 수수 가만 넣나 랑이 대가로 되고 수리고 들려요. 이 수수 발을 판로서나 다 누구쇼라와 누구쇼 치 발을 판로서나 야 들라 수를 놓치는 거 발을 차요. 차요 말아. 그 발이랑 대가로 랑이니 누구요 말. 와 누구요 나 대가 나시래도 와 때는 발을 능이네 발을 놓지야 바로도 신발나 수를 놓지 봐 것이 예세 다다 예세와 밑에자 되는 샤고를 마도 예세나 파페스 도배치라 다스네 배츠 증거들 주만이나 이간다 이나시 예세 되자 되지 되는 와 아담도 되지 와
Yeah, so imagine there are two mountains. They are separated by a river. So if you stand on the mountain over here, so if you stand on the mountain, then the idea of mountain over here arises. So in dependence on the mountain over there. So when you have when you have this idea of mountain over here, so because you are standing on a mountain, and then the mountain over there is as the idea exists or the idea arises because of the mountain over here, because of the idea. So basically the mountain over here and the mountain over there, they are related. They are not distinct by nature. So so when you stand on the mountain, then you have the idea of, oh, I'm standing here, then the mountain over here, right? And then whatever is opposite you, then you have the idea of the mountain over there. So they are not distinct by nature. They do not exist. They do not establish inherently. So in another way of saying that, it is not the mountain over here always. It is not the mountain over here by nature. It is related. It is dependent. So how it is related and dependent is, if you were to go to the mountain over there, and then when you stand on the mountain, then originally the mountain over here becomes the mountain over there, right? Because if you have one A mountain and B mountain, if you stand on the B mountain, the A mountain becomes the mountain over there. But if you go to the mountain A, then the mountain opposite you, then it becomes the mountain over there, right? So they are not distinct, they are not established by nature, or in other way of saying that, they are not the mountain over here by nature. It depends. It is related. It is dependent and it depends. So if you go to the mountain over there, then the mountain over there becomes the mountain over here. So similarly, oneself and others, they are not. We are not distinct entities by nature as well.
Oh, that day also. 뒤지 되는 거고 다 된다는 길이다. 파리스와데 스르스와데 간다. 근데 파리스는 타치도 때 파리기고 당연히 두가 밖에 말이스. 다 파리기 당연히 두가 있는데 뒤 남았고도 소소 방인은 도나 파를 소소 중에 되나 이 파리 차고 와. 이 차요 말와. 이 차고 말와. 또 지금 말와. 소소 파르는 파르로 지금 말와. 이 파르에서 또 지금 뭐 수르에서 또 지금 와. 어다데 간다 근데 발을 너 제바이나 때문에 랑이네 두가 다 대가로 차고요. 근데 차고요 말와. 두요 말이 되는데 랑이 두요 말이스. 어다 대가 나시 그래서 다다 시에서 또 이제 디지털. 와.
So if the mountain over here or the mountain for example, if the mountain over there were exists inherently or it exists intrinsically, then what it means is the mountain over there will not change. regardless what you relate to. So when you're on the mountain over here, the mountain over there is mountain over there. If you go to the mountain over there, and the mountain over there will remain as the mountain over there. Then if that idea arises, if that is possible, then yes, the mountain over there exists or established inherently. But this is not possible because they are dependent and they are related. So when you go from A mountain to B mountain, then the B, when you look at the A mountain, then it becomes the mountain over there already, right? It will not remain as the mountain over here, right? So similar to this idea.
Deeper reading China to the judge or Kanda, Roa, and Ding was a teacher to the mobile of the mobile Chunjin, Chunjin does not teacher Chimbuji Latin Kanda Chunjuji, Charlotte Mother put Chunju Resha, I said, Chunju Reswa, teacher to Chunju Resla, and that deliver. They can the chamber is not hard, Roa, teacher Latin Chimbus. That kind of Hindu, Jimbo Shuresha, Jimbo Resha said. Hindu pay Jimbo, Terrorina, then I hit the Jim, you know, Jimbo, Dino Bakundo Cadina, or the Licha Yomara. Or that was a teacher to you to shout race at the end of the
So this idea of dependent, this idea of relating, and this idea of comparing, so it can apply to other things as well. Like for example, if you say that, oh, this is a small phone. So this is a small phone because you are comparing it to a bigger phone. That's why you say this is a small phone, right? But if you compare it to a smaller phone, then this is not a small phone anymore, right? So it depends on what you compare with, then it changes. So it relates to the things that you compare to. So it doesn't stay that way. So in other words, it doesn't establish inherently. So similarly, if you say that this is a big phone, because you compare it to a smaller phone, right? So that's why you say this is a big phone, right? So similarly, the example of a short tree or a long tree. So a tall tree and a short tree. So if you say this is a short tree, so because you compare it to a longer tree, right? A taller tree, sorry. If you compare it to a taller tree, then you say this is a short tree. So, and you say this is a tall tree because you compare it to a shorter tree. So, however, this tall tree, it doesn't remain that way regardless what you compare it to. So it can become a shorter tree if you compare it to a taller tree. Then the tall tree, if you compare it to a taller tree, then it becomes a shorter one, right? So this is what it means by it is dependent. It is it relates to the things you compare it to.
Mila Jimena, Miss Sundajil, the Wombo race, the Wodamado, that's a bore carburation Sujulo Mara. Yeah, the Haro race, didn't drag my race.
So therefore, this is not the same as the fact that a mind of just blue will arise in whoever looks at the color blue, and the mind of another color will not arise. So this is not the same as the concept of blue and yellow. So if a person whose eye is flawless, when this person look at the color blue, and then it is blue regardless what color you compare it to. And if you look at something is yellow, so it is yellow regardless what color you compare it to.
That deal will Kanda, Lati de Kanda, as you go to gate the near Guinea by the Shinley to the gate, Tambo de la Kanda, a delucky to Kundle, gate Tambo de Gates, Junzi Tagar, the Kundle is a Jerbuship and the snow, the Lati Kuda, Lati Kuda, my dear she, and that she had the Chiba that you put to share.
Yeah, so in this manner, the compendium of trainings also teaches that self and others are not inherently established, but merely proceeded in dependence on the following point of view. So this is the quotations from the Compendium of Trainings, quoted by Lama Tsongkhapa to state the scriptural reference for what Tsongkhapa has explained. So then through familiarity with the equality of others and self, Bodhichitta grows firm. Self and others are relational and just as false as that side and this side. So if so self and others are relational, similar to the mountain over here and the mountain over there. So similar to this concept. So, and this self and others and that side and this side, they do not exist inherently. So if they were to exist inherently, if so, it is false if you say that self and others and that side and this side exist inherently. So it is false to assert in that way because, in fact, or in reality, they do not exist inherently. Yeah. So then he says that depending on this perspective, then the self in itself is not established. So this, depending on the perspective, then self or this side, then is in itself is not established. Yeah, so in itself is not established. So it summarized the explanations before this point. So if we distinguish oneself and oneself from others into distinct nature, then what problems will follow is attachment and anger will arise. So we attach to I or myself or self, and then we generate anger towards others. So it's not just neglecting others, the welfare of others, then we also generate anger towards others as well. So this is what follows if we distinguish oneself from others into distinguished nature or into distinct nature. So because of this attachment and anger, then negative karma will be accumulated, and because of these accumulations of negative karma, one will circling in samsara again and again, and there is no way that we can liberate from the samsara.
다 대가고 어디
So just now mentions that there are two obstacles, right? So the first obstacles that we have just discussed is distinguish oneself and others into distinct nature, like the color of blue and yellow. So then the second obstacle is you must. So the sentence here is you must remove the obstacles of thinking. Since the sufferings of others doesn't harm me, I need not make an effort to remove it. So this is the second obstacle that has to be eliminated.
다 간다 다 신지 동아지 달라 내가 말에 당아서 다시 제일로도 잡아라 신지 동아지 때 그래서 동네에 소방 양리디 제거로 와 다던데 계속 다다 리고도 이 다다 신지 동아를 가 동아 다다 리기 미스 신지 동아 세월 베지 지기 미스 내가 내가 말에서 달라 내가 말에서 디케제 시고도 와다 대파 가야를 나서 월 말레고 와 다다 한번 기대 미스 받죠 와 얘들 가서 다기지 로디 정화라 다 코파 녀봐도 이 답을 좀 알아 코까고 와.
Yeah, so in order to practice giving and taking after exchanging oneself with others, so we must remove the obstacles first. So if the obstacles is not removed, then there is no way one can practice the practice giving and taking after exchanging oneself with others. So we have to identify the obstacles, then remove it, and then in order to proceed to the actual practice.
다들 가서 배쳤다니나 가서 나지 진이 배쳤다니나 뒤에 람사 뒤에 보단 저 되고 있는 거. 폴파 그걸 레드리 제우디 신지 등하지 나서 내가 말에 예 신지 등하지 세라니 배지 지금 미세 드리 러바이나 다 저는 드리 러바이나서 다 대단 드리 러바이나 땅아 게비체 동아때 용우리에서 돈에 또 현지 기서 내가 소소 갈리지네 뭐사요 말해야지 다디파 좋았던 거 다디파 좋았더니 다 소소 게이 갈라페 다 갈리지 뭐가 안다 단다 현실 갈라페 다데 벤도체도 소소게 사고 그러 왜냐면서 나 미기 내가 내가 강가데 소소 경고차나 내가 제투고 말드네 내가 너 현실 갈라 갈리 제고요 wakali jiwa te jiwa de parang pa charang pa indi tan ko pa indi tan te gebitse dunga tone shindi jipe no saba de yo marebe jese kaisne gebi dunga de shamba no go marwas gebi kala susula ne aka ma susu shamba de ya mar so ma jin do saba yo marwa ta ti ta ta go sun chawo pa rinda tang go rinda
진짜
rinda ba 그러나 pa kelang de ko kelang de pa 지바 지정만 딴 거고 다시 딴 거, 다시 나와 지바래.
Yeah. So then this sentence, this paragraph, then if for someone who has studied debating or philosophy before, then it's easy to understand because this is the structure of it. It will happen in the debating. So if someone were to say that, since the sufferings of others doesn't harm me, I need not make an effort to remove it. If someone have these positions or have these assertions, then another person who challenge the person's positions, then will say that, if this is your view or if this is your positions, then so use what he asserts or what he proceeds to challenge it, to challenge his positions by using his own assertions. So if this were the case, then there would be no need to accumulate wealth when young out of concern for the sufferings of old age, because the sufferings of the older self would not harm the younger self, or the young self, or the old self would not harm the young self. So it's easy to understand, right? So first you say that, then no need, you state your point. So if this were the case, then there would no need to accumulate wealth when young out of concern for the sufferings of old age. So this is what we usually do, right? Because to avoid us being poor in the old age, then we put effort in accumulating wealth when we are young. So we accumulate monies when we are young, so that we will not become poor when we are old. So then since the suffering, then you give the reason. So if this were the case, then there will be no need to do so. Then since the sufferings of old self will not harm the young self. So this is the reason to support the points that you mentioned.
Give us 20, yeah, Sashimba in Jirua. That did a tacit on the Kashina Sash Hana, they should because it's sun.
Yeah, so this is something that we can relate, right? How to say when we are so some of you how to say my as I become older in age, then so now you just relax and enjoying the wealth that you have accumulated before when you are younger. So and then some people if they how to say didn't put effort in accumulating wealth when they are young, then now how to say now they has become older, and then now only they start how to start putting effort in accumulating wealth. So there are people like that as well. So this is something that we can relate. So what how to say the main thing to debate here is the reason here. So someone has stated the point or the positions here. So the sufferings of others doesn't harm me because. So what follows is the reason, because I need not make it. So I need not make an effort to remove it because sufferings of others doesn't harm me. So this is the reason to support this point. So the main thing to debate is the reason. So in order to debate this reason, then you have to point out the fault in this reason.
That Lama the share was Lama the share was that Kamba Lapa Nika Susura when the share was Lapa Kamba Chaya Mare Kamba Lapa Senisaya Mare Nika Susura Sherwa Kamba did the Lapa the share Lapa did the Kamba the Sherwa oh the Kamba Lape donation Lapisia Kamba Sema Subaina that Lapiki the Sema the party donate the set where Yamare that Asi deliver and the deliver and that over the Master Jabana. That Kambal Sema Subaina, that Lapa Sema the Spirit, Dunga the Pameva Swag, your mother has that acid Nitango. Your mother made Jessica Lava the share was Kambal the share is the share is an social no was the paint of Maris that day and that day.
So to continue to challenge the reason posited by the person, then you give another example. So it was also said that the hand would likewise not eliminate the sufferings of the food because they are other. So you said your point, and then you give the reason. So he said that the hand similarly also do not eliminate the sufferings of the food because they are other. In fact, there are others, right? Hand and food, they are others, and hand will not become food, food will not become hand, right? So there are others. So, but is that what you is that what you would do if your foot is pierced by a thorn, and then don't you use your hand to eliminate the sufferings of the foot?
That the Ulama did Sampatan, you not do the Shido so Samala judge who say that in the Gudwa. That the winning so not do Shido do not not do say your marriage, not do a college in say your marriage. Shido this, not do Niaka Yumarwa. She is, right, she is. Oh, that bit, and not do Shido down. That you mother Dawasi to somebody. Dawa Jemal Pe, the Kangi Pasiere, Dawa Dinalo, do your marriage. dawa jima de share was dawa dirzen dawa share was ta lo da dawa de nima na do shido changsa to jipa jijang res ta jatong share res ta kandarwa share res wo diri chimachi.
So then because there are others, then we can also apply to other sufferings, such as the sufferings of the morning and those of the evening and so forth. So the sufferings of the morning and those and sufferings of the evening. So similarly, in order not to experience sufferings in the evening, then wouldn't we eliminate eliminate it in the morning? So do we not do something in the morning in order to eliminate the sufferings in the evening? So it is something to question the questions and positions. So similarly, then you also can give more illustrations such as this month, next month. Then this month and next month there are others, right? So do we not do something in this month in order to eliminate the sufferings in next month? So similar to this year and next year.
The channel that the one channel that the ones that the half coaches of the ones to similar teaching so that should do that. Similar teaching should do that. What said by me that Seshimada, they can that Jiwa Jamal bin Sanji to Batoya. That is someone better than they want to be Jivala. They can that you marry, did Jiwa Jima Shin Chasa is. That they does it deliver on the road. It does it is down. They cheat and deliver.
Yeah, so the fallacy would follow similarly that if you say that because of the others, then you no need to eliminate the sufferings of something else or what comes later. Then you can also apply to the earlier part of your life and later part of your life. So in order to eliminate the sufferings in the later part of your life, don't you do something in the earlier part of your life? So similarly, in order to achieve the state of enlightenment later, don't you do something now or in this life? Don't you need to put effort in accomplishing it in this life? So then you can also apply this to other illustrations.
Kishoso dana jire kati geye jichires geye dan dagu mares kan chopa jire de dan dagu mares kan chopa jires de dagu made randa yese wa dil zawari dagu mares da yanja tangja no ni ba ji wo ko geye jichwa sunza ngaro shenbi ka sakale jena ge bi ka ko jijire la tu phegre en do chi ro o kamba la ba de chopa jire ni chopa ji ba sunza in Dagmaris, Data Yis on Dagmari, ye and Dagmari, the Dayanja Topa the Lego, some town, or Soban must meeting Maleva, meeting Leo. Da put the Shizana with a Randa Shini, Data Shis or Dilwa, she said it is some town of Jadua. Or Rayida, with the Dagmaris, Data, Yes or did Dagmaris, but the Dagmaris, Gayes or the Chichi band over there, cannot Sopa, Kampa, the Lapa, Kato Mothers, if it's Sopala, Sopa Chis. Dagi Pumbo de la Compa de la Pada, with a chance of Soda, or the Sopachi, that day, Yanja Tanjanoshi, Niba Japana Kilina, Yanja just so much of that. Sabaka, that is how could it Gati, Gay, Gigi, game by the Shembani, that Shebikas, no Savannah game because that Paluma Tanja learning. The Pingres book has a Jiba Mandoas, hidden Dagumari Tagis. That Kamba the Lapa said so, Yellow Sopa, the Soda Dagumari, Kozupe Sopa, the Kamba Sopati, Kamba Lapa Yellow, it's somewhat Sopachi, that's right, Sopachi. Sopa Jichi in Dagumari, that Randa Yeni than Dagumaris, Randa Yes, they were didn't Dagumar, that's why Tanja did what that book. Cook had Sopa thinking. Say Tanja, Randa Yeni. They produce check it. They that is what the dog mares. That could about what in you were.
Yeah, so you can see the flow. If you study philosophy before, you know about the way to debate. Then you see the flow in here. So similarly, it continues. Someone might think self and other are not the same as this. So again, the person who asserts this, since the sufferings of others doesn't harm me, I need not make an effort to remove it. So then the person, after someone has to say this to challenge the positions already, then the first person again think that, or to assert that self and others are not the same as these, since the older self and the younger self are the same continuum, and the hand and the foot are the same collections. So at this point, the person starts to loosening his positions. So saying that self and others are not the same, because since older self and younger selves are of same continuum, and the hand and the foot are the same collections. So then the person said that self and others are not the same, because, since the younger self and the older selves are the same continuum, and the hand and the foot are the same collections. So then kind of like saying that, oh, it is okay to benefit. So then the person challenged the point here. So a continuum and a collections are imputed to many instances and a combinations of many parts. They lack an autonomous nature. So so self and younger self and older selves are the same continuum. Then hands and foot, they are one collections. So however, they are merely imputed as well. So they are not they are lacking autonomous nature. So in other words, is they do not exist inherently, intrinsically. So if they were to exist intrinsically or inherently, or if they had an autonomous nature, then this instant will not proceed to the next instant. So if they had an autonomous nature, or if they exist intrinsically, then it will not proceed to the next moment or next instant. However, in reality, this continuum and collections, they do not exist inherently, and they lack an autonomous nature. Therefore, it is called in the continuum, then it flows. The next moment flows from the previous instant. So similarly, self and others, that self is also merely imputed on the collections of the aggregates.
Chita Goremato, the Dasewa, Moy to Bana, His or the pit, and Anji Teharo, Moy to Bachi Yoma, yes, that the Yoma, or Dada, he is or the Dasewa, he de Latini, Chetabachi. He is what Dalatini, he was Tabachi. With the Digimoto, they can he Rohishi to Bada, does appear on to what the Digital in the Yoma, yes,
So, since your own self and the self of others must be posited on a continuum or a collection, self and others are not inherently established apart from mere relation. So, self and others do not exist inherently. So, self and others, they exist in dependence on others or mutually dependence. So, others exist in dependence on self, and others, and self exists in dependence on others. So this is how they are related to each other. So, and in other way of saying is they do not exist inherently.
Dungan take Shumala Tela Mazeba, Hajan, the Yawa, Dunga de Pat Toyage, Sayag Chid, Tonda, Roa, a day weary Roa. That day Yumba de Mambo only chasers, only chasers, Roa, only chaser, the Pami Kota, the Yid Pami Kota, the King Yuri, Soso, only chaser, this Soso ranking in Zimata, the Pamani, Yuri is not thought in a Kurunji Chetu Mara. Thought in Chetu. That is. Oh, Nigi, Laval Massagina, Hamag Laval Massage, Lomaro. Oh, this was a pay, Onsarwa. Oh, this was that deal of Toman when a Jinzi Combi, the longer Dunashua Hacham Mazeba. This Ekanda, you would take China for Jinzi Yabuji Combina, the Taganashi, you would also. China Jinzi Yabuji Combina, they hate the Dunashua Mazeb Hachambe, Telapa, in what the seller. The Beijing Jabada, the Hassan was the Huchim Degressive, and the woman was that.
So yet your own suffering is unbearable owing to the power of familiarization with self-cherishing from beginningless time. Therefore, if you familiarize yourself with cherishing others, their suffering will also become unbearable. So this self-cherishing, then we do as a we kind of think in this way that this self-cherishing, consider oneself as the main one or the precious one. So as a whatever this self-cherishing wants to do, just let it be. So because I have been with it since beginning, for a very long time, since a long time ago. So I have already familiar with it. So whatever it wants to do, then just let it be. So we kind of think in that way in our we kind of think in that way. However, this is not the case. Yeah. So this is not the case. We shouldn't just let self-cherishing do what it wants. So however, why we do that is because of the familiarization we have with self-cherishing. So because we are very much familiar with self-cherishing, so then we just let it be. So and using this as the same reason, then you can also say that, if you familiarize yourself with cherishing others, so if you start to familiarize yourself with cherishing others, then you will find their sufferings unbearable as well. So this is a matter of familiarization. So because of familiarization, we even regard others' body. So this body or my body, in fact, is not my body, right? Because this body is formed or created by others' substances, by our parents' substances. So in fact, it is not mine. it is others' body, right? Because it's from others, from the parents' substances. So, however, because of familiarization, then we regard it as my body. So, if someone happened to, if you have a wound here, then you will not say that, oh, there is a wound on my parents' hand. So you pointing on your own hand, then you say that, oh, there is a wound on my parents' hands. You will not think that, right? Because of the familiarizations with self-cherishing. So if you familiarize yourself with cherishing others, then you also find their sufferings unbearable. So now I'm going to talk about Tonglen, giving and taking practice. So, and when we talk about exchanging oneself with others, then it will brings out the concept of giving and taking. So, in order to meditate on giving and the practice of giving and taking, first, then is your posture. So, if you can, then you can sit according to 7 meditative posture of Bodhichitta, and it has a special blessings and benefits to sit in that positions, so which we will discuss in the chapter of come abiding. So if you in case if you have some knee problems or foot problems, then you can sit in whatever positions you find comfortable. So after sitting in these 7 meditative posture of Bodhichitta, then slowly think about it. So take your time and slowly think about it. So in order to meditate on practice of giving and taking, so first is to identify self-cherishing as the door to all degenerations. So this we mentioned before, right? So self-cherishing is the door to all degenerations, and it is the door to all undesirable sufferings and unbearable one. Whatever unbearable sufferings there is, the door to it is self-cherishing. So first, in your mind, develop such certainty. So after that, then you think cherishing others is the method or is the door to all good qualities, is the door to all excellences.
Shebe, Dewa Duala, Dichiuala, the Betsy Chebu. Tepe, Shinji Dunga Sama the Marangi Chulada, he Dichiuada, Rangi, Dichi Piece of the Shinapa, me to again. The Dichi Chebu, somebody Chebu, Takanda, only Nanicha Roa, but the Dichi, some down.
Dagi Dewa Shela Min.
Dog Dewa Kanga Payena Pa, me to a Dichi Tajitan. That Shinji Dunga Kangada, Mundeba Kangada, Susu Chulene, the Shinapa, Dichin Juagi, Bessie Chebu, son, and the song down.
So after thinking that cherishing others is the door or is the method to all excellences and all good qualities, then you think again in yourself that I will put effort in accomplishing others' happiness, and I will take upon me others' suffering. I will take others' suffering upon myself. And whatever happiness I have, whatever roots of virtue that I have, may it ripen on other sentient beings, and may they experience the sufferings.
That's teaching you pieces of Baloroa, Jay Yundi, Topa Kandi in a Pesanji Pompa, you don't know the theory in Sua, Shinji Manzimbade. That they did Topa de Susu Jula Chiwala, they can Rangi. Unami Lama Lama, but Topa Chichi to Kandi Chiguna Lama Lama, but Topa the Chibu to a Sonza. They can Rangi Lama Lapa, Suato Rosa. Somebody dish
the Lama Tingodus.
No Lama Tingodus, and this song is never.
And this cherishing others, it will bring forth all the good qualities. That includes this achievement of the state of enlightenment. So in order to achieve the state of enlightenment, I must have this cherishing others attitude. Without it, there is no way that I can achieve this state of enlightenment. So, and in order to develop realizations, so whether it is a big realization or it is a small realizations, if I do not rely on a spiritual guru, or if I do not rely on Lama, then there is no way this realization can be generated in my mind. So think in this way. Then again, you think that, so I must rely on Lama, rely on Lama or spiritual guru.
That the song on the thing on that sound was not that Rangi Shola, you know, Chidi should have to shoot the Roa. That Rangi Shola, Lama Tubiombo, Undo set Sebo, Undo set Tomata, we say about Tony the Lich, Rangi Shola, the Lich of Santa, the Lishuba. The Polakanda Chicken also let me be that chicken also we say about 20.
Let me to be one boy number.
Oh, Lama Tubiombo Rangi Shola, Peseta, that war on the Lama Imbala, war on the Lama Imbala, and number Tubiombo. Instead of Roa Tubiombo.
What is Lama? Number the to be one
Tubiombo. Let the D Santani, up at Johnny. People wash you, the Chinese wants about dinner and did you something never change.
So again, then you visualize on your crown, there sits my Lama. So the aspects of my Lama is Buddha Shakyamuni, and the nature is my Lama. And my Lama is yellow in color, and body is radiating lights. And then you visualize that my Lama is the embodiment of all objects of refuge.
Oh, that number two number, Windows Sebojiro, Windows Setsomanashi, at the New Year's trying to get the Lishi Santana. Here can the war on the Jetsai Lama Ibalatini, number two number the Lishi Santani. Here can the Chumbaina, Yelan Dimbaji, Yelan Dimbaji, the Jeba Majubaina, the Chanta of the Chishaba, the Tsiganji Yorwa. The Lishi Santana. This Santani, that Kanda, that Dagi Gila, that Roa, Dagi Gila Kanda, Tony lost the Topa Jewel, Shinji Lado, so story about that. Only, the Dagi Gila, 동네 라서비 다 똑바지와 신질로도 손에서 쏘았다고 다 간다.
So after you visualize your guru or your lama on your crown, then yellow in color, the aspect is Buddha Shakyamuni, the nature is one's guru, and yellow in color, radiating light. So after you visualize in this way, then you make offerings, then you practice 7-limb practice. Yeah, then you engage in 7-limb practice in relation to the lamas that you visualize on your crown. And then you make offerings, etc. So if you're able to do it extensively, then in your mind, then you should do so. If you are not able to do it extensively, then there is one verse. So there's one verse that including the 7-limb practice. Then you can think about that verse. Then you do the 7-limb practice. Then you make request to Lama that please bless me to develop. Please bless me to develop. Please bless me to be able to develop realizations or realizations such as the realizations of practice of giving and taking in my mind stream. So then you make such requests. Please bless me to be able to develop realizations such as the realizations of giving and taking in my mind stream.
Lama tubyang haja tu hindo jene tepe kule disigma jiban lama tubyang kule ma disigma jiban te rang shuone ma shurwa rang shuone ma shune te je ganda diji thanje de je ganda diji thanje da cheba도 te tongni je topa chewala ro tongni je topa chewala te bado ji ge ge bado tongni je topa chewala cheba tongni je topa chewala ta didi tanchepa tapa shesu sa meba chewe wa che didi tanche tapa cheba do tongni je topa chewala bado ji didi tanchepa tapa shesu sa do meba chewe.
So after you make request to Lama to bless me to be able to develop realizations such as the realizations of giving and taking in my mind stream, then again you visualize that Lama Shakyamuni is very pleased with me. So because my practice of giving and taking pleases all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So Lama on my crown, then he is very pleased. And from his body, a stream of nectar flows and enter my body through my crown. And in general, all negativities and obscurations are purified. In particular, negativities and obscurations to generating realizations of giving and taking in my mind stream are totally purified. So you visualize that in general, negativities and obscurations are purified. In particular, obscurations and negativities to developing realization of giving and taking in my mind stream are totally purified.
That's what Gawada Demiton Roa, Lama Pet, the league by Juzi Jimpane, that and that's also a better China, Lama Tuja, but the name of Chesarwa. That the name of Chesar, take on that. That's also with only we should that on that. The Boyala, that never the Nazo, Chamba the Nijini Johnny, only a Bongo, Chamba the Nijini, Magoya, that and that. You will. Chamba the Nijin Pemashi, Pemana, Ninji, Mipazato Dene, Seliad, Chambi Mipa the Pazza the Dene, Patan,
Chambani Patan.
Shambani Pat, where the Pat Digi Patan, they were the Patan at the Shamba, the Shamba where did it. That's certainly a Ninji. City and Ninja Mipazato. That didn't about work, it's only.
So after you visualize that Lama is very pleased with you and the stream of nectar enters one body, the negativities and obscurations are purified. Then with this joy, then you start the meditations on the actual practice of giving and taking. So in order to meditate on giving and taking, and there's no way that you can meditate separate from loving kindness and compassions. There's no way that you can do so without conjoining it with loving love and compassions. Yeah, so you should generate love and compassions alternately, because this loving kindness is in relation to the giving. So you give the happiness and your roots of virtue to others in relation or focusing on loving kindness, and you take upon oneself the sufferings of others, focusing on or emphasizing on compassion.
Ninja the Shambani Nibatza the Tine, only one. That only is what Lemba the Tawanino, Tambu Karago is Tambu doing Lemba. Tambu Lemba, Tawada, Lemba Nino, Tambu Lemba.
So we must meditate on giving and taking, conjoining it with loving kindness and compassion. And in among these two, taking and giving, the first thing that we have to practice is taking.
That Lemba de la Chidang also, Rangi Lama the Sanjin Lata, Leakayoma, Resigo, Leadium, Patai, Tancho. Gets a time that Chuti Pataya, but Chutu Taya, but the Chebaba, Tunipa, Lama, Sami Hijibe, the Eats at the Mebachini, Patancho, Chulia,
Sami Yishiki to see,
Sami Hit Dewa, Sami Dewa, the Jesus, Chebaba, Chebal number 20 Pa, Dewa, the Papicho, Patancho, there's Lamada, Sanjina, Roa, Kanda. Chulia, so Lama Tamabaina, Sanjin, Hijewa, Chigwa, so that Chulia, Lama the Sanjin, do what's in
Sangi number the Mebachewa, Tamabaina,
Tamaban, Lama, Tamabaina, the Sanjin Mebachewa, Sanjin Mebago.
Yeah, so then regarding the practice of taking, so taking regarding the objects from which we take, regarding the object from which we take, then one's Lama and Buddha is not the object from which we take, because even though it is ordinary person whom we regard as our Lama, even though he is an ordinary person, but we have visualized him or her as Buddha already, right? So there is nothing that you can take from Lama or from Buddha. So however, regarding the practice of giving, so giving, there is something that we can give. If we relate it to Buddhas or Lamas, then instead of using the word give, then we say offer. So there is something that we can offer to Lama and to Buddhas. So for example, one's roots of virtue and the uncontaminated the bliss of uncontaminated bliss. Yeah, uncontaminated bliss and one's own roots of virtue. We visualize it as offering substance or gift. Then we offer it to Lama and Buddha. So there is something that we can offer to Lama and Buddha, but there is nothing that we can take from the Lama and Buddha. Yeah, so regarding taking upon oneself the sufferings, then it can be divided into two: the sufferings of oneself and the sufferings of others. Yeah, we as a beginner to the practice of giving and taking, it will be difficult for us to start with taking the sufferings of others. So for beginners, it is important. The first to take is this one's own suffering. So after we train our mind in taking our own sufferings, then when we become habituated to this practice, then only we start to practice. Then only we start to practice taking the sufferings of others. So even when we say that we have to first practice taking in relation to one's own suffering, and as a beginner, again, we have to start with small sufferings, our own small sufferings. And again, it is difficult to start with our own big sufferings, because we have to familiarize our mind to this practice, right? So we start from small, start taking our own small suffering. So then you think about morning and evening suffering. So the evenings, in order to enjoy freely in the evening, and in order to stay free of relax or whatever. In order to stay freely or relax in the evening, free of suffering in the evening, then you put effort in the morning. Yeah, this is what you natural anything to call it. So we train our mind gradually. So start with a day. So in order to enjoy the evening, stay relaxed in the evening, free of sufferings. Then in the morning, then we take the sufferings of the evening to the morning, and then we put effort in it to eliminate it. So this is how we take the sufferings. So we take the sufferings of evening to morning. Then you gradually train your mind to tomorrow's suffering, then you take upon tomorrow's suffering upon today. You take tomorrow's suffering upon today, and then you put effort in eliminate it in today. Then similarly, you can graduate. Then you can practice this taking in relation to month. So next month, and then you take the sufferings of next month, then upon this month, so that you enjoy. You can enjoy or you can stay relaxed in next month.
Oh, that the mission of the Duma to the Ribaji, yes, Tomborang, Duma Lembala. No Jemal Petui, no deal at Chilebachi. That you are set up Germany doing Wangata, no more good Sintela. It was me too much. At the people know Yanda, Bomba, Usuna. That pitch to the pit, you are Ceronipe, doing no more good at Sintela Pet, into the Digipet, Loya Bopon. You combine a dead jail, this will be Pama to answer. Abope. Amateur is a super doing limba. Yet to so much dear Pama. Dear Da, this in Chikanga to Stuma Limba. To some ways and to do a limb.
So after you train your mind by taking the sufferings of next month to this month, then again you can practice taking the sufferings of next year upon this year. So then next life to this life, you take the sufferings of next life to this life and ripen in this life. So, and after you have trained in this way, then you can take the sufferings of life after life upon this life. So after you train in this way in relation to one's own suffering, and once you become habituated with it, then you can extend this to other person. So starting with one's own parents or our beloved ones that we take upon, we take their suffering, for example, parents' suffering upon myself, upon me. Then later you take the sufferings of stranger or the unspecified or the neutral one, then upon myself, upon me. And then you take the sufferings of enemy upon me. Then you take the sufferings of sentient beings upon me. So this is how you should practice gradually.
Oh, that those Sharwa, those Chidamazo, German Helishowachia, Dualindarwa. The indigenous Dapa, they were part of the passenger on the part that they were cheaper, since you hear part of the war. Then I would be what's the digital level.
Yeah, so this is how we practice taking. Then next class, and we can discuss it further. How how's it the way to take sufferings from others. And then next class, then we are going to talk about giving. So how we give our happiness and the roots of virtue to sentient beings.
That Jillin element sounded Niba Gonsu is what the Dai, Donji, the Gonsu, the Mandua. That dilemma is somebody got the Abolo cheese.
Yeah, so next class, we are going to start with this outline, the actual way to meditate. So please read before you come to the class. And I will stop here, and any questions? If
I have one question.
Yes.
Yes.
Melissa here. In the text, it's always say removing or eliminating suffering and obstacles, but in actual fact, we know that suffering cannot be removed or eliminated. Can Geshe-la explain further on this?
In fact, we know that suffering cannot be eliminated or cannot be removed.
Yeah, but we are using the terms saying that removing obstacles and removing suffering.
Okay. Yeah, that's what the patient ang lola yang dapat dia kasi dunia sewa dan paci sewa dia ngaso di dapat si di tungi roi je lah. Ini ngui ni cula dunia dia sewa yo mari, doya yo mari, paci dia sewa yo mari, doya yo mari. Di kula ini di sih kau orang nasa. 제가 디 공기 이니 가자 능구윤이 술라 디디 지야 요 말이 자 도야 요 말이 사 지상아 디 고통
그래서 넣어야 돼.
나의 디다 비샤 나로 라야 디 둥이 세와 다 같이 도와 디디 타니 디디 요리 데 이니 구윤이 술라 디디 도야 요 말와 세야 요 말와 디콜라 디시 캐로나스
지금 가서 동의 세와데 무슨 주디기 용어서 잡아 동의다. 아, 간다 가서 토시지네 만냐미 집에 가봐 찌는 동화 그런 시기에는 그 동의지. 예. 가서 단다 용다기 동의 세와 소리 쳐봐 요레스티스와. 근데 이게 찌는 용어서 잡아 가서 배 땅고 나고 저거 나고 세와로 그래. 그와 인지기 동의다. 내가 가서 간다 다 동의서 찌리 빨요 동어 아 동아 동지도 처번지 동아서 단 토시지네 뭐냐면 받아 가와치네 동의를 힘이 오는게 인지 동아지 아무 동아지가 예술을 좋아 인지 요리 동아 같은 지디 용다라 안고 나와서 저거 나와서 하는 거 지지 좋아 뭐 담보 동아 지지 좋아 다들 시한도 그 동아서 상다
나니 디 동의 숨기 거 라인이 파샤로 이제 나다 지대인기 동아데 아니 무슨 세야 요미
어디
장기 호려라.
Oh yeah. So so regarding sufferings, so take the normal sufferings that the worldly the normal sufferings that we usually talk about, like for example, stomach ache or headache. Then in relation to this, then we discuss whether this can be removed or not.
어디 당아서 단단지티 용달까 지대 동안 예수산 답 지당에서 뭐 나와도 저거 나와도 지루와 답도 저던 가서 아파도 저도 지당에서 매도 저는 간다 가도 지야 줘라 가도 좋아해 줘라 답도 저 자원잎에 다 간다 먼저 등잎에 시집에 지내는 게 세라 병아다 지다 그와 어 된지 뭔데 방 동아도 쇠자와 용사데 당가서 녀무도 수대왕 레미와 녀무도 소 다도 저 녀무도 소왕게 상담이 또 매봤어 가토요레스 소야 요레스 매서야 요레스
녀무도 숨데
녀무도 소왕 레미오레 저 매봤어야 요레스 띠 뭐야 가르쳐서 자좀 맞춰는데 먼저 된지 동의스 유행하고 와 된지 잡고 동의라서 다 동의 못 보죠 어디서 자원이 요
So after we identified the normal sufferings in the world, like such as headache and stomach ache, then we think this suffering be removed or eliminated or not? Yes, it can be removed by taking medicines or by receiving treatments. Then it can be removed, and once we recover from it, then we remove, right? So then, so the sufferings. Whether it is physical sufferings or mental sufferings, it comes from the three poisons. It comes from the three poisons or afflictions. So then we think, can this? So sufferings comes from three poisons, right? Then now we think, can this poison be removed or eliminated or not? Yes, it can be removed. Why? Because once you achieve arhatship, then there is no more afflictions. So once you become an arhat, then the root of the sufferings or the cause of the sufferings is eliminated. So because the root of the sufferings is self-grasping, So self-grasping is eliminated.
That's the challenge. I think don't say I miss out the window which is me. Want to let it know me or don't want to so my meat sarwa. Let it know me don't have around all of my body. Meat cycle, they didn't never say. It's that challenge as these actually this way. Never so to myself. Want to let it know me the way the social meat say jela. That there's Sanji Chanju Simba, Sukanji Pa, Robachi to Maru. So Nami Lesawa. This also will touch each other.
Yeah, so probably what you are saying is the sufferings cannot be removed. Probably you are referring it to the ripened results, the fruitions of karma that has already ripened. So probably you are referring to this. Sufferings cannot be removed, referring to the fruitions of karma that has already ripened. So once it has ripened, then there is nothing that you can do about it. So you cannot eliminate it or anything. Yeah, probably you are referring to this. Yeah, so when you say that it cannot be removed, so probably you are referring to this.
That 2 minutes 3 days I was Desha that is teaching us.
Yeah. Yeah, so if no problems, then we stop here.
Ken, there's a question in the group chat, in the chat box. Maybe you can read it. Yeah.
What is your view of Jesus who died on the cross of others? So unless he thinks he was doing it for others. Because Yeshu the Yorojala, Jesus the Yeshu the Yeshu the Yoro. Cholushida, the Tapoda Oro, the Yeshu in the Shidang in the young Shing the Joro, Shing did the Soje, young Mishindagi, Mishinagi Dunge, Kung Shibare, the Kaza, the young La Pata, and the Gangbata, when the young Shingla, and the young Numberjik de Dumne, and the Shibara, any young Mishindagi, Dunge Wangi, Mishindagi Tibagi Wangi, Korangi, and the Shibare. Any Kishagi, some to the Ticola, and the some to Kanganas. Mishindagi Chetu, the Chigunas, Yana, Mishindagi Tiba, in a Korangi, Yombare, and the
so Mishinda pay to the Korape. So Pelly Tamba in a dig is a chamber sour data. The shader which Kanda around the soul Tambaina. Tipe, yeah, chamber on around the soul. Shader which is solo Tambaina, then also against a chamber sound. The Maiba on the so Kanda around the so Jena never such a more. She is what another never tell you.
Yeah, so if he, so if he give up his life in order to benefit others for such a great purposes, then yes, then he would accumulate great roots of virtue. So instead, if it's not for great purposes, and if he were to kill himself or to kill others, then instead of accumulating roots of virtue, he or she would only accumulate sins or negativities.
Oh yeah, thank you. Not to just stop here. Yeah. I was watching these are one that me. Was a jungle to the change number, such a policy you want to put it in the country show in Jibatan, Pejulama Sabaro Bochi, Chobi, and that. Timber and read the puts it into Tingy, in the country shook in the Jabatan, and that Zanilla, Mantula Saba, Niala Saba, Shiba, to the Bermuda to act. That Mantu Nia Deji, the city selling Bezina, several Thomas of the Depot and the Sanji Bermuda to act. That never Yantala Kanda Robot in the nation, mayor, the member, Cardina, the Benjamin Robert Carina Prance Summer, Deji Pishu to my Tatu Sanji company with the digital language. Then Zanidra, that Montrish, my Shiki, you want she never lost a new.
We conclude with dedication. We dedicate the roots of virtue accumulated especially through these Dhamma discussions may be a complete cause for Buddha Dhamma to flourish to all 10 directions and for all sentient beings to experience excellent happiness. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to all upholders of the Buddha's teachings in the 10 directions, represented by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. May His Holiness live eons long, excellent health, and may his enlightened activities and holy wishes be accomplished instantaneously and spread to all 10 directions, in particular to our beloved teacher, Gyaltsen Lama Zopa Rinpoche. May Rinpoche's live eons long, excellent health, quickly recover from the manifest sickness, and may Rinpoche's enlightened activities and holy wishes be accomplished instantaneously and spread to all 10 directions. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to the world peace, and may happiness prevails the world. May the world be free from wars, conflicts, disaster, and may this pandemic and wars and conflicts that is happening be pacified immediately. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to those who pass away, and especially those who pass away in wars, conflicts, and disasters, pandemic. So may their sufferings be pacified immediately. So and may their negativities and obscurations be pacified immediately and quickly achieve the state of enlightenment. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to those who are suffering right now, who are in suffering state, and especially those who suffer because of wars, conflicts, pandemic, disaster. May their sufferings be pacified immediately, and may their life be filled with excellent happiness. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to those who help others, such as doctors, nurses, those who help others financially. May their life be filled with excellent happiness, and may they achieve the everlasting happiness as quickly as possible. Sabegi wadi tendang ruwa kunla kambe nang chiba jizu lo san jaba ye tembe ni bori no se je shu jachu sem chori bo je ma ke panang ki gyu ji ke ba nyamba me ba yang kondo me wa shu jambe ba we chi da ke ba dang kondo sambo de yang de shin de da ku ge jesu da lo je ke wa de da dang je rab do mo ari bo je ma ke panang ki gyu ji ke ba nyamba me ba yang kondo me wa shu ri ye da wa ri bo je ma ke panang ki gyu ji ke ba nyamba me ba yang kondo me wa shu de jam jin jam yuan ge we den jing yong be we ku se dong mo ze chu song bu we le men tu ju ba da zo de je ge do sha de shu je sum do ju be lang chi che se se kan chen de de ge cha na be mo de jing ga zo la so wa de so xian de le do shu a de ben de ma de ba ka le ju me sa be yi xin no ka de so me de jing ga zo la so wa de so du xian le do shu xin gang de ben dang de wa ma lu ju we ne che re se wa de jing ga zo ye sha be si de ba du de yu ji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Thank you, Geshe-la, Ken.
Thank you, Geshe-la. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you, Geshe-la. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Krishna, thank you, Ken. Thank you, everybody.
Chicken.